we will have or move to ordinary and simple annuities. Okay, so um, for the simple discount or simple interest, we are just simply looking into the idea of how much yan, will a certain amount grow based on simple computations of our interest. Sa simple discount naman is on the thought or on the idea na um, a certain amount may have reductions or um, some add-ons as well based on certain deals. Yan. For compound interest, it's another way of computing interest of a certain amount. Yan. And then, wherein our original amount is continually changing or growing. So, moto na sa compound interest. Now, for this time, we will now have annuities. To start off, we will be dealing with the ordinary simple annuity. Pero more like to give you a general overview, yan. Let's first talk about what is an annuity, okay? Now, sometimes, okay, in business and personal transactions, there might be involvement of a series of equal regular payments. Okay. And these series of equal regular payments are what we call annuities. These annuities may include, say, for example, kanang mga payments sa insurance, lease, mortgage, mga pension, personal loan, rent, salary, and other types of loans. Okay, so annuities may come into the picture. And um, what we will actually have to do is that we need to understand how annuity works. Yan. And then in annuity, they can also be classified. So nailahi-lahi na klase sa annuity depende sa iyahang classification. Based ba siya sa terms? Based ba siya sa payment schedule? Or based sa interest period and payment interval? Okay? Now, when we say annuities based on terms, we have three types. We have what we call the contingent annuity. Yan. These are annuities with no fixed number of um, payments. Pero natay identified na um, certain time or period or example, number of years ba na siya. Yan. So that is our concept of what is a contingent annuity. Usually, si contingent annuity, ingana ang gamit na computation kung kana gani sa mga life insurance. Okay? I believe na familiar mo ana or ang uban na mga unsa na estudyante or uban na mga tao or maybe you have heard the term life insurance kanagong sa example kanang sa Sun Life, Manulife, yan. Okay, they are life insurances. And based sa ginabayaran sa client nila, yan, we can do the computations for the contingent annuities wherein ang tao magsige siya or katong ilang client magsige siya bayad continuously until okay, yan, nga that which his or her life insurance nga katong gibayad niya will be insured yan and mag-end lang yung payment kung mamatay na siya. Yan. Okay, pwede nga naiing ana nga deal sa annuities. And that is a what we call the contingent annuity. Or example, kung naay gisabutan ninyo nga kanus a mag-end yan ang bayad. Yan. Example, kanang magbayad ka og insurance baron yan or pension or mortgage yan na for good for 10 years. So, that's a contingent annuity pa rin. Okay? Another type of annuity is what they call the annuities certain. Yan. Now, sa contingent annuity kay walay, okay, no fixed number of payments. Meanwhile, sa annuities certain, yan, it is identified when ang start, okay, so beginning and ending dates. Specified pod ang iyahang number of time periods. Example, kana ganing sa balay, yan, or kanang magkuha og balay payable for 10 years, Tapos ingani imong bayron per month, tingana siya. That's annuity certain na siya. Another is on sa salary loans or salaries or installment plan. Kanang example, kanagong sa home credit, okay? So pwede na nga ang ilahang, 'di ba, ang ilang style sa home credit kay um or sa mga familiar sa home credit. So nga wala ka familiar sa home credit, they are actually um an institution wherein nga pautangon kanila og certain amount yan when you need it, for example purchasing mga products and everything, and then pa-credit nimo sa ilaha instead na ang buhaton is sila ang mubayad sa imong bayron nun adto nga ano, tapos sa ilaha na kang bayad in that case. Okay, so annuities, ang certain annuities certain can actually be applied on that as well. Yan, that's what we call installment plans. Yan na siya. Now, in the certain annuities, na kay beginning, yan, and ending dates, and the number of time periods. That's for the certain annuities. Another is what we also have the perpetuity. Okay? Perpetuity is actually a form of annuity, yan, in which periodic payments begin on a fixed date. Yan, okay? They begin on a fixed date and continue indefinitely. Okay? Sometimes this is referred as a perpetual annuity. Okay? So say for example, fixed coupon payments or permanently invested sums of money. Okay? So scholarships paid perpetually from an endowment. So kana kaning mga investment sa stock market pod, pwede na siya yung ana. You can compute using perpetuity. Pero lahi jud ang sa stocks and bonds ha. Okay. Pero na siya similarity sa concepts niya dito. Now these three contingent contingent annuities, annuity certain and perpetual annuities, these are the types of annuity based on term. Yan. Another type or classification of annuity is based on payment schedule. Yan. Based sa kung kano sa magbayad. Yan. So we have what we call the ordinary annuity. This is um, paid or received at the end of the time period. Yan. Example, salaries, stock dividends, yan, and so other things, or so many other more things. Another type here is what we call the annuity due. Annuity due is, this is an annuity that is paid or received at the beginning of the time period. Kanang mga rentals, insurance or educational insurance plans, kanang mag-utang ka o kanang unsa na. Okay? So that is annuity due. Mag-una ang imuhang nadawat tapos magbayad ka after. Okay? And then, we also have what we call deferred annuity. In deferred annuities, this is an annuity in which the first payment is delayed or deferred for a period of time. Okay, so say for example, usually sa mga salary loans ni, yan, kana ganing or mga payment schemes. Example, kana ganing mag-loan sa pag-ibig, yan, or sa uban na mga lending, yan, or usahay gani kanang sa tawag ani kanang uban nga kanang government na offices, GSIS, SSS, mga ana, okay? Pag mag-loan ng isa ka empleyado, yan, mag-loan siya og certain amount, no? Ang mode of payment usually dili siya immediate. Example, nag-loan ko og 30,000 sa SSS, yan na. Tapos nakuha na nako ang ako ang gi-loan dito sa SSS. I-specify lang siya, yan. So by the time nga nadawat nako ang loan or ang ako ang amount na gihiram sa ilaha, yan. I-specify lang kung kanus aday mag-start ang bayad sa katong akong gihiram sa ilaha. Okay? So kumbaga dili agad-agad na pag madawat nako mo bayad pud ko dayon og ansana kanang kanang amount as or a certain portion of that as payment of my loan. Yan. Pwede nga moingon sa sila nga kung March ko nakadawat sa ako ang loan, pwede nga As identified sa SSS, mo start sila og kaltas sa ako ang sweldo og ing-ani nga certain amount para bayad sa loan. Kumbaga na or period nga dili sa sila magsingil. And then pag mag-start na pud tong katong ilang gi-identify nga time kung kana sila magsingil. So moto siya didto na magsud ang tanan. Okay? So that is in the deferred na annuity. Okay? So pwede na siya ingana. Now that is another type of annuity based on payment schedule. Now the third type, okay, is the annuity or mga annuity based on interest period and payment interval. Okay? We have what we call the simple annuity in which the number of compounding periods ang atong gina-concern diri ha, number of compounding periods per year coincides with the number of annuity payments per year. Meanwhile, the general annuity or the complex annuity, this is the annuity in which the annuity payments and compound payments do not coincide. Or annuity payments and compounding periods rather. Yan. Will not coincide. Now, for our session this afternoon, we will be dealing with ordinary simple annuity. Okay? So take note, ordinary simple annuity. So an ordinary annuity, again, here is that it's an annuity that is paid or received at the end of the time period. Okay? Ordinary annuity siya. At the same time, applying the simple annuity. Meaning, the number of our compounding periods per year will coincide with the number of annuity payments for that year or per year po siya. Okay, so a combination of the two qualities. Walang sa nato ang focus for now. Okay? Now, let's proceed to some of the basic concepts that we will encounter as we go through this topic. Okay? We have here what we call the payment interval or the payment period. This is the length of time yan, between successive payments in an annuity. Yan. Kung mayon po tag term of the annuity, this is the total term from the beginning of the first payment to the end of the last payment. Yan. So that is the term of the annuity. Periodic rent, sometimes referred as periodic annuity payments. Okay. And then we also have the future value. This is the sum of the compounding amounts of all payments. And the present value, this is the lump sum required at the beginning of the annuity period. Okay? So, kumbaga, same gihapon na siya or medyo similar lang gihapon sa og concept dito sa interests. Okay? It's just that here sa annuity niya, sama sa kaning payment intervals. Okay? This is when we also have certain identified lengths of time between the successive payments in an annuity. And for each of the payment, same ang amount na bayaran nila. Okay? Now, yan, in an ordinary annuity, okay, in an ordinary annuity, the payments are made at the end of each payment interval. So, example, interval, first interval, second interval, third, fourth, and so on and so forth. Hangtod sa mabayaran na natanan. Example, nga na. Now, for each of the payment schedules, yan, kumbaga, or payment intervals, same amount of money ang imuhang ibutang. So, example, kung sa imong first na payment schedule kay 1,000 imong bayad or imong ihatag, so, for the succeeding na periods, tinag 1,000 gyapon na siya. Okay? Yan. Now, what are the different variables that we have to take note for annuities? We have S sub n. This is the future value yan, of our ordinary simple annuity. A sub n. This is our present value. Then, the size of each annuity payment. This is R. Yan. Our nominal interest rate. Okay, so nagyapon tayo interest rate. It will still be represented by J. Yan. Number of conversion periods, katong mga quarterly, annually, semi-annually, biannually, mga yato-yato. It's still M. Time period or term, this is represented by T gihapon. Number of payments is N, yan, in the annuity. And then I is the interest rate. Again, I is still computed similarly with our other forms of katong sa simple o sa compound interest, where I is equal to the quotient of our nominal interest rate divided by the number of conversion periods or conversions per year. Yan na siya. Okay, so similar lang gyapon siya. What other things do we need to take note for this? Siyempre, nagyo tayo mga daghang formula diri pita. Yan. We have here 8 formulas. First one is here. This is for our future value. Yan. For for the computation of our future value, we have here our size for each annuity payment multiplied to 1 plus I raised to n minus 1 divided by I. This one here, a sub n, this is for computing our present value. And then, R here, natay duha ka klase nga computation para sa ato ang size for each annuity payment. Pwede nga magdepende siya sa kung unsa nga ato ang available na information. Ang future value ba sa ato ang annuity or ang present value sa annuity. Okay, so natay duha ka possible na formulas ana. Another thing to take note is that in determining the number of payments for the annuity, nagyapon tay duha, magdepende gihapon sa kung ato abang gina-refer kay ang atong future value or ang ato ang present value. And yan, another more summative the formula here yan is that okay, n squared minus 1 multiplied to I squared plus 6 times n plus 1. Yan. This is formula for 4-7 or ika-7 na to and then ika-8 po. Okay. Depende sa to ang value sa to ang future value o atong present value, they may actually ano um, vary as well. Pero magamit nato na siya later on in computing or in looking for our other values as well. Yes, Norit.
Sabihin, naghiwalay siya sa Catholic. At bakit siya niliwalay? As take note, ang mga Catholic sa sila during the time ay mga private din. So, ang mga private, medyo
Sige, Norris, multitasking pa diya ha. Ayan. Sige. Let's continue. Now, first off is that, di ba natin gipresent ka ganina na formula. Kunom ay walo day kabuk formula. Now, if we try to derive, okay, the formula for our future value, unsa gid ay og nganong ingana sa og dagoy atong formula. So, let's actually start the derivation in this manner. Okay? Balikan na to katong drawing ka ganina ha. Katugong 1 plus R plus blah 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 blah. Okay, sige. Ato siyang i-present here. Sige. Again, take note here. We have our number of intervals and our payment sizes for each period or for each na kanang bayad nimo. Okay, so in that case. Now, take note here, ang atong time is or term or more likely interval sa itong pagbayad. You have here 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. Hangtod sa mahuman kasi ng payment. Yan. Or sa total number of payments nimo na mabuhat. Okay? In understanding sa nganong ingana siya, okay? Ang kanay nga to ang payment sizes vary for each or kumaga consistent sa for each payment schedule kumbaga or for each interval. So, pero how do we compute for the future value of our annuity? Yan. So, first off, kani siya, this is just simply R. Yan. And then, there is atong second na time is that this can actually be computed as R times 1 plus I raised to 1. mura tag nag-compute og simple interest ha. I mean, um, future value sa simple interest. Yan, mura tag ingana. So sa first or after sa or prior sa imuhang um, last na payment, so that is R times 1 plus I raised to 1. Katong two payments prior pud ana, that would be R times 1 plus I raised to 2. Yan. And then so on and so forth. Hantod sa maabot ka diari sa imuhang 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 na part. Okay? This can be represented as R times 1 plus I raised to n minus 4. Miss, ngano nabaliktad na siya? Ano na n minus 4 naman hinuuna siya? Kasi for this multiplication diri sa ubos, yan, this is based on the pila ka interval gikan sa sinugdanan sa imong annuity na computation. Okay? Yan siya. So pag abot diari, ayan, okay, next. So this is R times 1 plus I raised to n minus 3 before mag-end ang atong payment. Okay? Next na po, diri this is R times n plus I raised to n minus 2. And then this one, this is R times 1 plus I raised to n minus 3. Minus 1, di I rather, sorry. Minus 1. And, kani silang tanan annuities, kani sila tanan, ipang-add na to, and that will be our total na future value for n payments of ordinal simple annuity at the end of the term. This is the sum of the future values for each of the individual payments. Okay? So, modo na siya nga to ang future value. Hence, okay? So, kumbaga, kung mag-compute ta or if we try to compute on that, we will have to, pwede nga isa-isahon mo na siya og multiple ka ng compute din ha, nga ang sa first di mo na interval kay ing ani ang mo ma-compute na annuity. Second interval din nga na and so on and so forth. We can actually rewrite this formula here in the manner S sub n, dali sa ko sa kilid magsulat ha. This can be written as S sub n is equal to R times 1 plus n, 1 plus I raised to n minus 1, yan, plus R times 1 plus I raised to n minus 2, yan, and so on and so forth, hangtod sa maabot ka diri sa R times 1 plus I raised to 1 plus R. Yan siya. And, yan, we can have our common values there. We have 1 plus I. Yan. Isulat na to na siya sa lahi na po na page. Okay. Now, computing for our derivation of our formula for the future value. Okay. We can actually write that in this manner as well. We have or we can multiply yan or we can have or we can write that formula atong annuities or future value of an annuity. Kung ito na siyang isulat na katong ato, S sub n is equal to R times 1 plus I raised to n minus 1 plus R raised to 1 plus I time raised to n minus 2. Yan. And so on and so forth hangtod mabot siya sa R times 1 plus I raised to n plus raised to 1 di I rather. Sorry. Ayan. Or raised to 1 plus R. Sample nga na. Kani hago ni siya tong buhaton kung isa-isahon na to. So to make this long story short, yan, we can rewrite this, yan, this one in the manner na katong 1 plus I, yan, times S sub n, okay? And then, we can rewrite the other one as Yan. What we will do is that, sige ha, take to sa na ko ni Dari ha. Ang kaning ato ang gisulat na kaninga formula, this is our long version sa katong future value. Okay? Itong taas nga formula na version in that case. So, kay kinahanglan man nato siya nga i-reduce into its lowest form para mas dali siya. Yan. What we can actually do is to subtract, okay, our future value s sub n to our identified as well na another set of future values referring to katong naa siya i-multiply for everyone na 1 plus I. Yan ang mag-multiply data og um, both sides of 1 plus I para maka-derive ta og more compact na formula. Yan. So, we can have here, multiplying 1 plus I to everyone else. So, 1 plus I times S sub n is equal to R times 1 plus I plus kani. So, this will become 1 plus I raised to n plus R times 1 plus I raised to n minus 1, a plus, so on and so forth, R n, R times 1 plus I raised to 2 plus R times 1 plus I, yan, raised to 1, in that case. I-combine na to silang duha, we can actually have that, the two of them, yan, ka-straight ba? Okay. Ayan. Sige, this is better. Okay, combining the two of them or subtracting kani siya to the other one. Ayan. So we can have this as 1 plus I times S sub n minus S sub n is equal to ma-cancel out ni mo ni siya kay naga-exist naman ni diri kani ma-cancel out kay naabot ni siya di susulod. Ayan. Kani ma-cancel out kani pod ma-cancel out pud ni siya kay nani siya diri adapit somewhere. So what would be left here is we will have R times 1 plus I raised to n minus R. Minus R ha kasi mag-multiply man tag negative 1 for both sides. Yan. And then, further simplifying the two of them, we can have this here. S sub n multiplied to 1 plus I minus 1 is equal to R times 1 plus I raised to n minus 1. Okay? And then, what furthermore can we do for this one? Okay? We can either simplify or at the same time, we can also expand this one. We can also do that. And so, kung i-expand na to ni, mag-erase na po ko. And then, we combine the similar terms. Okay? Wait lang. Uy, ayan. So what do we do here? This is 1 times R times 1 plus I raised to n. Expand or we distribute the left and the right side with each other. You can have here S sub n. Take note na kailangan nato din makombine ha. Yan. So S sub n plus S sub n times I minus S sub n is equal to and R times 1 plus I raised to n minus R. And then, cancel out ni siya. S sub n minus S sub n, that's 0. What is left is this one. We have here S sub n times I is equal to R, yan, times 1 plus I raised to n minus R. And then, further simplifying them, we have here S sub n is equal to, sa numerator na to, that would be R times 1 plus I raised to n minus 1 divided by I. Pero, pwede rin po na ito nga isulod po na si I din ha as a part of our divisor. So, hence, we can have our formula S sub n is equal to R times 1 plus I raised to n minus 1. Oh, mali. Dali din na siya. All over I. So parehara na siya to kaganina ato ang gihatag na formula ha. Kay gi-derive lang nato siya kung asa siya gikan. Yan. Now to have some examples of where to use such a formula. Yan. Say for example here we have Cecil has been contributing 460 pesos at the end of each quarter ha, for the past 18 quarters to a savings plan that earns 9% quarterly. Compounded quarterly. What amount will she accumulate if she continues with the plan for another year? So, ang natuang buhaton diri is that actually pwede na to ni siya presentan og kanang diagram, okay? Or pwede ta mag-present og diagram to explain it. Yan. How does this one work? Okay? So, mag-drawing-drawing sa kung kadali ha. Yan. So, dito sa katong kay Cecil na contribution, okay? For each of the payment schedules, so I shall be doing this one. Drawing-drawing ko gamay guys ha. Yan. So, ana do na siya. Katong atong timeline kaganina. Imagine na lang gud ninyo good na kanang equally spaced na siya. So, we have here 0, 1, 2, and then 3, and 3, and so on and so forth pa. Okay? And then, we have here, ang ingon kaganina sa problem is that si Cecil nagbayad sa hangtod sa iyahang 18 ka quarters. Okay? So, 18 ka quarters ang iyahang una nga nabayaran. Yan siya. Now, what was stated in the problem is that what amount will she accumulate if she continues with the plan for another year? For another year. So, gikan sa timeline niya, naatay, kanina sa taas is ang number of quarters na to ni siya ha. Okay, kanina sa taas. This is the number of quarters that we have. Meanwhile, ang nasa baba is ang atuang payments. So, diri sa payments, consistent man na siya nga R yun na siya kung pila ang iyahang bayron nun for each. Okay, so for each of the intervals, consistent yun na siya nga mura yun na yung bayaran. What we are trying to identify here is that after 18 quarters na nagabayad si Cecil og ing-ani nga amount, okay, or to specify, 460 ang amount. R is 460. So for each of the payments here, instead of writing R, we can actually write, we can have here, ang nakasulat na to kay 460. So 460, tapos 460 na po, tapos 460 na po, 460, 460, and so on. Hangtod sa iyahang ika-18 na quarter. Pero gusto man niya i-extend og 1 year pa. So pila man ka quarter ang nasi sa katuig na tayo pat. So mag-add tawg 4 ka quarters. So additional 4 quarters that would be on the 19th, 20th, 21 or 21st, and then 22. Meaning gikan kaning upat na, these are our additional na 1 year. Okay, additional na 1 year. Pero 460 gyapon ang bayaran. 460 gihapon, 460 and 460. Siya. For each of the payment sizes, 460 gihapon siya. Now, the whole term of our payment is now, instead na 18 quarters, nadungagan siya. So, ang number of quarters na to na included, yan, instead na 18 na lang, nag-plus 4 ta, indicating that there are 22 clusters. And this will be the basis for our N. Okay, and again, to recall, N is the number of payments that was done for the annuity. Kasi after 18 quarters, nibayad pa man og additional na 4 ka quarters si Cecil. So, balik ka 22 siya nagbayad. Yan. Now, next, to continue on that, okay, we can now compute for our future value of our ordinary simple annuity. Yan. Given, mo ni ato ang nakalista nga information nga nakuha gikan sa tong problem, we have there R is equal to 460 rather. Yan. We also have J, that is our nominal interest rate, that is equivalent to 9%. Converted to decimal is 0.09. N is 22. Balik ka 22 na siya ni bayad. M, ang number of compounding periods na to, that would be 4. So hence, computing for our interest, we have here I is equal to J over M. 0.09 divided by 4. So, what do? We have here our formula for the future value. Yan. We have our R. What is R? This is our um, value of katong pila iyahang gibayad for each payment or payment size nato times 1 plus I raised to n minus 1 divided by I. So that is substitute our available values sa to ang I is equal to 0.0225. Ayan siya. And then our R is equal to 460. So substituting all of them and then simplifying it. Ang N by the way nato is 22 ha, meaning 22 payments itong nabuhat. Yan. And then, simplifying all of them, we can have 460 times 28.06764989. Computing for that further, we can have the value 12,911.12. Yan. So therefore, indicating na based sa iyang ordinary simple annuity, ang ginabayad ni Cecil na tag 460 ang iyahang quarter will accumulate to 12,911.12 in 1 year. So, nga na lang po siya. Okay? Now, next, what if ang ato ang i-compute is ang ato ang present value? Okay, so, kaganina, ang ato ang gipangita or ang ato ang gisolve is kung available ang ato ang, kung ato ang ginapangita is ang future value sa ato ang, sa ato ang annuity. Now, this time, if ang atoan ng pangayoon is ang atoang present value, again ha, the present value of n payments that are ordinary, okay, or the present value of n payments in ordinary simple annuity at the end of the term is the sum of the present values pod for all of the individual payments that make up the annuity. And we can illustrate this as well, okay, using the same timeline. Pero pabaliktad na po siya, okay? So, kumbaga, again ha, take note, unsa ganin ni ang ordinary simple annuity. Ordinary simple annuity is that, going back to the features of our, what we call, simple annuity, yan. Si simple annuity is that the number of compounding periods per year coincides with the number of annuity payments per year. So, katong kaganina nga example nato, kay quarterly man to siyang iyang compounding period and then every quarter po ang iyahang annuity payment na schedule. Also, ordinary annuity kasi at the end of the time period. Sa future value is ang end ang ato ang reference in that case. Sa present value is that with reference to the end, pila pud ka payments pa presently asa karon. So that is the present value. So kaganina sa tong future value is that gikan sa to ang end sa period dito ata nagsugod og compute for the exponent sa ato ang computation sa ato ang interests or annuity for each interval. Now this time baliktad na pud siya. Diri ta magsugod na pud. Okay? So we can compute for the annuity for each interval with r times 1 plus I raised to negative 1. So, in reference on this one, napunta. Okay, sa sinugdanan. Diri napunta, we can have here r times 1 plus I raised to negative 2. Yan. Diri kay r times 1 plus I raised to negative 3. Then, kani siya. This is r times 1 plus I raised to negative 4. And then, so on and so forth pa. Tiwason pag na siya na to. Ayan. can have here r times 1 plus I raised to kani. Baliktad na po diri okay? Instead na n minus 1, it will be negative n minus 1. N minus 2 rather. Yan. Okay? And then this one, this will be r times 1 plus I raised to negative n minus 1. And then on this one, this is r raised to 1 plus I raised to negative n. Ayan. Negative n. Negative n na din. Pwede na din na siya negative n. Yan. And what we will do is that i-total gihapon na nato. That will be our um, sum of our present values. Okay? Now, okay, to more likely take note of this one, ayan siya, given our present value here, or present value sa ato ang mga mura siya compounding gihapon. Okay? Nga thought. Pero, in comparison to the previously drafted or previously presented nato na formula, nga derivation sa formula, what we did there is that in reference sa end of the period or term. Now, this one in reference sa pod sa atong present na time or period, meaning sa katong sa zero. Hence, what will happen is that, ayan, in our computation, mura siya og kumbaga pabaliktad lang siya. Okay? And if you can actually observe, okay, so kung balikan nato tong ato ang formulas nga gi-present ka ganina. If you can observe on these formulas, ba medyo pareha lang ang formula sa ato ang future value o sa ato ang present value. Yan, na computation. Notice here, almost similar lang yun siya. Ang nakalahi lang nila is ang atong exponent, position ani ni plus 1, nabalin siya sa pikas. And then, kani, almost similar lang pa rin ang concept. Pabaliktad lang yun siya. Okay? Now, to sort of more likely apply na this formula, we have here a problem or sample problem. We need to determine the present value of 6,800 uh, pesos na gibayad at the end of each subsequent quarter, calendar quarter ha, for 7 years. If money is worth 6% compounded quarterly. Each calendar quarter, 7 years, 6% compounded quarterly. Again, pareha ang ato ang um, compounding periods o ang ato ang value or ang ato ang time yan, sa um, ato ang annuity payments for each year. Okay? So, pareha sila nga quarterly. Okay? And with our given information here, we have the following. This is our payment or annuity payment for each interval. That's 6,800. And then, our rate or nominal rate is 6%. And then, our time or term, this is 7 years. And then, ang ato apong compounding conversion per year is quarterly. Yan. Ang ato ang computation for in, yan, we have here T or term times number of conversions per year. So 7 years times 4, so 28. Yan. And then our rate here, that is, or our interest rate, that is nominal rate divided by our compounding periods, which is 4. So 0.06 divided by 4 or equal to 0.015. Yan siya. And following our formula for the present value, we have here a sub n is equal to r times 1 minus 1 plus I raised to negative n all over I. Substitute values for I and r. So we can have here 6,800 times 1 minus 1 plus 0.015 raised to negative 28. Your calculators can do the rest of the things here. And further simplification, we have our value 154,541.67, indicating that the present value of the annuity is 154,541.67. So, yung ana lang po siya. When we will try to identify our present value of our annuity. Okay? Now, let's have another one naman. Okay? What if ang atong pangitawon is ang periodic payment, katong value sa R? Um, it can be, or if you can recall previously, nagpresenta og formula nga based sa atong future value, napuntay katong based sa katong ato ang present value. Ayan. So what do we do or what happens? Di ay, when we try to compute for or when we try to derive, kay pwede nga to na siyang i-equate para mas masabtan na to siya. Okay? 'Di ba ato ang formula kaganina for our present value, or I mean sa future value rather. Future value S sub n is equal to R times 1 plus I raised to n minus 1 divided by I. Yan siya. Kung si R ang ato ang kinahanglan, so i-derive lang nato na siya by multiplying both sides with the reciprocal of this one. Kaning ato ang multiply pud kay R. So we can have here S sub n multiplied to I divided by 1 plus I raised to n minus 1 equals R times 1 plus I raised to n minus 1 divided by I. Tapos, kani pong isa, I over 1 plus I raised to n minus 1. So, pwede na to ni i-cancel out and then cancel out again. So, therefore, we can have it R is equal to, i-multiply na to itong numerator. So, we can have here S sub n times I divided by 1 plus I raised to n minus 1. So, that's how we can derive the formula. For the formula on finding the periodic payments naman based sa tong present value. So our computation or our formula for the present value is A sub n, yan, is equal to R times 1 minus 1 plus I raised to negative n all over I. Yan na siya. Okay? So, same gyapon sa itong gibuhat, we will multiply the reciprocal of this one. So, what we can have is that, or what we can write here is that A sub n is equal to 1 minus 1 plus I raised to n divided by I. That would be equal to R. So, diretso lang ako siya ha. And then, further simplify and rewrite it, R is equal to, mali. Baliktad. Yan. Reciprocal man na ito yung multiply. So, we can have here I all over 1 minus 1 plus I raised to negative n. Hence, A sub n rather, times I all over 1 minus 1 plus I raised to negative n. Okay? So, that's how we do it. Yan. Now, to apply some of these. Okay. Starting off with this one. Now, Arman sold a piece of property for 1,300,000 pesos. Ang down payment daw, of 500,000 was made and the remainder was to be paid in equal quarter installments. The first due 3 months after the date of sale and the interest was 15%, compounded quarterly gihapon. And the debt was to be amortized in 7 years. So, nanatay time dira ang 7 years, nanatay nominal rate, naatay compounding periods, okay? And then, natay other information here such as our 1,300,000 and our 500,000 din. Now, it has four questions na kailangan natong itubagon based on yung situation. One, what quarterly payment daw atong ang kailangan na buhaton? Yan. Dito kay Arman. So, kung example, kita ang nipalit kay Arman sa katong nga property, tagpila atong bayaran per quarter or every 3 months sa iya ha. Second, what will be the total amount of payment? Meaning, pila ang total na mabayaran na to? Yan. And then, how much interest will be paid? Pila di ay ang atong mabayaran na interest? And then, what is the total cost of the property? Yan. So, how do we compute for that? First off, we write down our given. 1,300,000, this is the cash value of the property. Yan. Meanwhile, kita nga buyer, nag-down payment daw tawag 500,000. The following information were also provided like our nominal um, time or nominal rate rather, that's 15%. Our term is 7 years. Our compounding per year is quarterly. And then our um, tawag ani, number of compounding number of times yan, i-compound siya for that given term or number of years is n, yan, which is equal to 28. And then, we also have here our interest, yan, our interest rate of J over M or simply 0.15 divided by 4, which is equal to 0.0375. Now, balikan na to tong upat ka pangutana kaganina. Yan. Una, mangita siya sa pila nga to ang periodic payment. Ikaduha, pila tong total na mabayaran. Katulo, pila ang interest. Ug ikatulo, o ikaupat, pila tong total cost of the property di ay. Yan siya. First, we need to determine what is our present value. Okay? Take note, nagbayad na taog 500,000. Ang cash value sa property is 1 million. So, pila na lang datong bayron nun. So, we need to just simply subtract our down payment and our cash value. So, our present value is equal to cash value na 1,300,000 minus down payment na 500,000. Meaning, kanina lang atong present value, 800,000. Now, first, we will compute for our periodic payments. Yan. So, periodic payment na to or meaning per quarter na bayranan R is equal to A sub N, 800,000. Mo man ni siya ang katong total na bayronon na lang nato. Kumbaga, yan. Sorry. And then, multiplied to I divided by 1 minus, yan, 1 plus I raised to negative N. Yan siya. And then, we proceed to operating them. Okay, 30,000 divided by 0.6432754085. Simplifying further, our result indicates that for each or for every 3 months or for every quarterly installment, ang ato ang bayron nun di ay kay 46,636.32. Yan siya. So every 3 years for the next for every 3 months for the next 7 years, magbayad ta og 43,000. Sa. That's for our periodic payment. Next, sa total payment, pila di total atong bayron nun. Okay? Now for each periodic payment, 46,636.32 multiply na to siya sa number of payments. Our total number of payments is based sa kadtong N is equal to TM, which is our term is 7 years and our payments is done every 4 or every quarter. So 4. So meaning 28. Meaning 28 times ta mo bayad og 46,636.32. Hence, the total payment that we have is equivalent to 1,305,816.96. Yan. Now, to compute for the interest na nakuha ni Arman based on nga transaction is that we simply subtract our total periodic payments minus original loan. Okay? Original loan katong 800,000 nga katong kulang na lang na nabayaran. So, ato ang nabayaran or total na bayro nun na 1,305,000, okay, minus the remaining jud na total based sa cash value sa property na 800,000. So, ang iyang nakuha na interest is 505,816.96. Ang ana lang siya. And then, last but not the least, the total cost, meaning, pila jud day total ato ang nabayaran, apil ang ato ang down payment. Okay? Sorry, namali ko og sulat dirang dapitan. Yan. So, pila tong total na nabayaran, apil na ang ato ang down payment. Yan. So, our down payment, or if you can recall, our down payment is 500,000 plus katong total periodic payments na itong gikan di ari nga compute. So we have here 1,805,816.96. Meaning, the property costs this much na. Yan. Sa katong based sa transaction ni Arman. Nga katong gibaligya niya iyahang property. Okay, so you see, from the property that originally costed only 1.3 million, yan, after doing the annuities, ang iyahang total nga nadawat kay 1,805,816.96. In short, nakaginansa sa og balig 505,000.